some secondary level students regarding how to calculate chi-square value. And also we can train some college level students regarding how to calculate a particular statistic. It is not a difficult thing to calculate the chi-square value. It is not a difficult thing to calculate a t-value and other things. But what is important is, in a given research context, which test to be used. Whether we have to go for t-test, and within t-test we have to go for dependent t-test or independent t-test, or we have to go for Anova, or when we have to go for this chi-square test, all that thing, we just theoretically speak the things. But very rarely we deal with the cases. Deal with the cases in this, and in fact, this is the one area where a lot of researchers face difficulties, because I know some of the people who are very good in theory, and when it comes to the practice, when it comes to the question of applying them, sometimes they failed in taking decision regarding which test to use. So for that, let me spend some 10 to 15 minutes. Let me take some different cases. Yeah. Let us say this is case number 1. Case number 1, the case study number 1. In this sense, is let's assume that we have one study which focus on, and Chetan, sometimes I want to go for some kind of participatory method, like let the participant, whatever the questions that I'm asking, let them participate, so that you can unmute the people. Whoever wish to participate in discussion, they can. See, here is one study. The study on impact of watershed technology on
sir, please unmute yourself, sir.
How long it was muted?
Only 1 second, sir. Only 1 second, sir.
What happened for this? Yeah. There is one study which goes like, impact of watershed technology on Java read. One of the scholars, assume that one of the scholars has undertaken this study. He is intended. Of course, it is just a tentative title. It is not customized. Yeah. One scholar want to conduct a study on impact of watershed technology on Java read. For this study, let us assume that what is that? I'm sorry. 1 second, Chetan.
Please.
The main objective is to analyze the impact of watershed technology on Java read. It is the objective of this study. Based on this objective, can anyone tell me how to formulate hypothesis here? See, I have given the title. I have given the title here. I've also given the objective here. Of course, you can do it in a different way. But looking at the objective of this study, to analyze the impact of watershed technology on Java read, can anyone formulate the hypothesis here? Chetan, I am audible now?
So you are audible, sir. And for the participants, I would like to inform that you can unmute yourself and speak. You have the permission to do so. Yeah. So if you want to join in the discussion, please unmute yourself and speak. And if you have nothing to tell, please mute yourself. Thanks, sir.
Yeah. Let us make it more let the, there are all faculties now. I think any of you, you are able to formulate hypothesis and let me know. And please try to give your opinion on this thing. How do you know? Can anyone tell me about the hypothesis for this objective? At least let us take case. Chetan, can you tell me?
Can you please repeat the objective once again, sir?
Objective, is it not visible on the screen?
No, sir, it's not visible, sir.
Yeah, actually here it is.
Only the first slide is visible, sir. Only the first slide is visible.
Yeah, objective is to analyze the impact of watershed technology on Java read.
Objective is to analyze the impact of watershed technology on Java read. So the hypothesis will be watershed management has no effect on the productivity of Java read.
Is your null hypothesis, right?
That will be the null hypothesis. Sir.
Yeah.
That is the null hypothesis.
Can you tell me about research hypothesis, alternative hypothesis for this?
watershed management does have a perceivable effect on jowar yield productivity, sir.
Yeah. Yeah. No, now is it visible now? I have actually.
Sir, please, what you do is you actually turn off the screen sharing and again reshare your screen, sir.
Yes.
You stop the screen sharing and again you restart it, sir.
Right. That I will do. Yeah. Is it visible now, Chetan?
Yeah, now the objective is visible, sir.
Objective, hypothesis are also visible, no?
Yes, sir. Hypothesis, research, everything is visible, sir.
Yeah. Jowar yield obtained by watershed technology adopters is greater than the jowar yield obtained by the non-adopters of watershed technology. Can you see? I think first I have written the alternative hypothesis. Okay. I think we can write it or H1 or HA. Say here you could observe jowar yield obtained by the farmers who have adopted watershed technology is greater than, it is unidirectional hypothesis, right? It is unidirectional alternative hypothesis, and null hypothesis, as you told, there is no significant difference in the jowar yield between the farmers who have adopted watershed technology and we have not adopted the watershed technology. Can anyone tell me which test we can use here? Which test is suitable here? Anyone can tell me that. Which test is suitable here?
I would like to reiterate the point again.
Right.
All the faculties can actually unmute themselves and speak whenever they want. Like there is no restriction on you as such.
And that
anyway, sir, I feel that alternate hypothesis is more viable, sir.
Alternate hypothesis?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Alternate hypothesis. What Chetan?
Like your question is with regards to the objective, which of the two hypotheses is more relevant?
No. Actually,
for that, I feel that alternative hypothesis is more relevant for the set objectives, sir.
Yeah, okay, that's all right. Actually, alternative hypothesis based on my objective.
Yeah.
And for this testing procedure, I have also used this null hypothesis. My point is, which test can be used here in this case?
Which test can be used?
In this
one-tailed t-test.
One-tailed
t-test.
Exactly, it is t-test.
Yes.
Obviously, we have to go for one-tail test. I agree. And more than that, again in t-test, there are different t-tests. Like for example, t-test for independent samples, t-test for dependent sample. Which is relevant here?
Jowar yield obtained by non-adopters and adopters. So thing is, non-adopters and adopters, jowar yield, independent, sir.
Yeah. Why it is independent?
Because the person who is actually adopting the watershed management, and he has no influence, his productivity has no influence on the person who is not adopting watershed. Like the person who is adopting watershed technology, his productivity, his jowar yield's productivity has no influence or cause and consequence effect on the productivity of the other person who has adopted or not adopted watershed technology as such.
Yeah, actually, yeah, you are right, but still we have better way to present it, Chetan. Actually here you should properly understand the concept of independent sample and dependent sample. Actually, I told you that this is the t-test for independent sample. Independent sample means here we have two samples. One is the farmers group who have adopted the watershed technology. Another one will be the another group of farmers who have not adopted the watershed technology. So the selection of the sample respondent for one group, like for example, selection of the respondent for the group who have adopted technology is independent of selection of respondent for the farmers who have not adopted, right? So selection of sample respondent for one group is independent of selection of sample respondent for the other group. So therefore, we have to go for using the t-test for independent sample. That is the logic here. Okay, this is the logic here. So therefore, we have to go for using the t-test using the independent t-test. T-test for for independent sample, right? So with this, let us go for other things like 1 second. Yeah, it is like 1 second. Case 2. Let us go for case 2. In case 2, we have topic here and we have objectives of the study. Is it visible now? Case.
Sir, it is visible, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, I humbly request you to again explain the rationale you explained for the first example, sir. Why we are going for independent? Can you please again repeat the rationale, sir?
Yeah, rationale is independent. We are going for independent sample. We are going to use independent t-test only when the one thing is clear. No, we have two sample groups, right?
Sir.
We have two sample groups. One is those who have adapted, another one is those who have not adapted. One is those who have adapted, another one is who have not adapted, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, there are two groups. And selection of respondent for one group could not influence on the selection of the respondent for the another group, right?
Yeah, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes.
So, the selection of respondent for one group is independent of selection of respondent for the another group. Okay, so therefore you are using the independent t-test. And see, you will be understanding this dependency and independency obviously after understanding the second case, right? That is what actually I am logically and scientifically prepare these cases so that practically you must understand what exactly the things are. Okay, let us understand the second case. Then even if you are not able to understand, then definitely I will repeat the things. Okay, Chetan?
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Yeah. Second case is the impact of biometric system in fair price shops on uptake of food grains by rural households. Is this topic. In fact, it is an empirical study in some Nepal Gram Panchayat in Davangere district. Okay. The objective of this study is to analyze the impact of introduction of biometric system in fair price shops on the offtake of food grains by rural households. Okay. The objectives, I think it is clear. Can you tell me the hypothesis for this study? Can anyone, any participant, please be remember. See, this hypothesis testing just merely listening to hypothesis. No, most of the scholars and most of the faculty, they just keep on listening to the theories and forgetting it. See, if you practically use your rational and thinking involved in analyzing the issues, I hope you will be better equipped with the skill to analyze these things. Okay. Can anyone tell me hypothesis for this study? You can unmute and you can tell me the answer. Otherwise, it will be, of course, even I want to have some discussion. Inevitably, since many participants are not participating, inevitably I have to ask with Chetan only. Can you tell me, Chetan?
Yes, sir. Sir, the null hypothesis will be there is no significant difference between the offtake of food grains by rural households compared with the fair price shops which have introduced biometric system and the fair price shops which have not introduced biometric system.
Yeah,
there's no significant difference between the offtake of food grains by rural households compared with the fair price shops which have introduced biometric system and compared to the fair price shops which have not introduced biometric system. Yeah, that is the null hypothesis.
Given limited information, your rationale is right, but let me put it in different ways, because since you have you have not full information about this research methodology. So in this context, whatever you have explained is obviously right. But the thing is, actually, this study is the introduction of biometric. it is not possible to find the people who have introduced biometric and we have not introduced. But in this case, we have to take before biometric, before the uptake of rice, uptake of food grains, before the introduction of this what is this biometric system, and after the biometric system. So therefore, I am putting this hypothesis in little different way. See, monthly average uptake of rice by the rural households has increased with the introduction of the biometric system in fair price shops. Of course, null hypothesis is quite opposite to that. The monthly average offtake of rice by the rural household has not increased with the introduction of biometric system in fair price shops. So can anyone tell me which test could be used here? Which test is relevant here?
One-tailed t-test.
Which test is relevant?
One-tailed dependent t-test, sir.
Yeah. It is enough to say it is dependent t-test. That's enough.
Okay, sir.
Actually, while selecting the critical value, you can using the term whether one tail is better or two-tail test is better, that you can decide it with, I mean, later while you want to take that critical value. But here, particularly while using the test, first thing is obviously it is we are comparing the two mean values, two average values. Average value, what was the average offtake of rice before the introduction of biometric, and what is the offtake of this rice after the introduction of this biometrics. So therefore, it is here we have to use the what we call the dependent t-test. Dependent t-test, paired, or also it is called paired t-test. We even in Excel, while you are selecting, we are using the term paired t-test, or it is also called dependent t-test, because here we are using we are not using independent t-test, we are using dependent t-test because see, the sample group is same. Observe that sample group is same, but we have taken the value, two value. One is for the same group of farmers, we have taken one value for the period before introduction of biometric, another value which is after the introduction of biometric system. So therefore, we will take two average value, average uptake of rice before the introduction of this biometric, and another average value after the introduction of this biometric system. So therefore, in this context, you used to say this is dependent t-test. I think I'm clear about what is independent t-test and dependent t-test. Is it clear now, Chetan?
So only one question, sir.
Yes.
If I say paired t-test or dependent t-test, both are same, right, sir? Paired and dependent are used in synonymous manner.
Both are same. Paired t-test. Paired means it's a pair of observation. Pair of observation, whenever we are used to say pair of observation for the same group of respondents, we have pair observation. See, this is like, for example, we have a group of respondents. We may give a training. What was their performance before training? What is their performance after the training? It is also paired observation. So this paired means it is dependent sample only. So means therefore we used to call it as dependent t-test. So paired t-test and dependent t-test one and the same. Chetan.
Yeah, fine, sir. Thank you. Yes, sir. Clear, sir. Clear, sir.
I hope I am clear with this. So this is the case where you have to use this paired t-test or dependent t-test. This is the thing. And let me go for the third case. Third case is, there is one case. Say impact of self-help groups on banking habit among women members. You could observe here. And the objective of this study is to assess the impact of self-help group on banking habit among the women. Banking habit among the members of the SHGs. See here the context is here banking habit. Let me briefly elaborate it. Banking habit means the people who have some accounts or who are in the habit of opening some savings account in the bank, and those who are visiting the banks. So this is, we can consider, we can classify the respondent to two groups. One is those who are having the banking habit and those who are not having the banking habit. It is attribute, it is qualitative variable, it is not quantitative, we cannot measure it. Rather, it is a qualitative variable. So, to assess the impact of SHGs on the banking habit among the members, see here, okay, since many of the people are not participating in the discussion, let me go for very core things. And here, the research hypothesis for this thing is members in SHGs as membership in self-help groups has enhanced the banking habit among the women. That means, so just because involving in some self-help group, it encourages the woman to participate or to have the banking habit. So therefore, this is how we can formulate this research hypothesis or alternative hypothesis, which I indicated is at H1. So membership in SHGs has enhanced the banking habit among the women, and the null hypothesis for this thing is the membership in SHGs has not enhanced the banking habit among the women. Okay, this is the research context. Given this context, which test is relevant here?
Dependent t-test, dependent t-test, and one tail.
Chetan, what is quantifiable here? Is there anything is there anything which we can measure here?
Membership in self-help group has enhanced the banking habit. We can actually measure the banking habits, sir.
No, in fact, even just to make things a bit clear, I told you, we can classify the respondent into group based on banking habit. The people who have the banking habit and the people who don't have the banking habit. That's it. It's a quality. It is a qualitative variable. Right.
But even that qualitative variable can be, measured, right? So
but that's what I'm emphasizing the word. I'm emphasizing the word. Take it as a qualitative. Yeah, sometimes you may use some way to measure it, but take it as a qualitative variable. Two groups of respondents. Banking people who have banking habit and people who don't have banking habit. It is
t-test. We will not use qualitative variables, right? T-test is only used for quantitative variables.
That's what I think. You have to use your logic and you have to give me the answer. Here in this context, in this context, chi-square test is relevant because it is
chi-square test.
You can compare. You can classify. See, member and non-member. On the one side, you are classifying the respondent to members of the self-help groups and non-members of the self-help. Okay, and banking habit, the people who have the banking habit and the people who don't have the banking habit. You can prepare a contingency table here. In the rows, you can take two rows. In two rows, the respondent who are the members of self-help groups and the respondent who are not the members of self-help groups. And the columns you can take again two groups. The women who are having the banking habit and the members who are not, the members who are having the banking habit and the members who are not having the banking habit. It is a contingency, nature of contingency table, right? In this context, it is the chi-square test which is relevant here. Am I clear now?
Excuse me, sir.
Please.
Excuse me, sir.
Please tell me, madam. It is audible.
Yes, sir. Sir, one more observation here. I don't know whether it is right or wrong. Since we are talking about banking habits of the members of self-help groups, can we put it in other way like this? Frequency of banking usage, whether it is visiting to the bank or making use of banking services, and that basis also we can measure the this thing. We can frame the hypothesis like that also, no, sir?
Well, definitely you can do it. I'm just, you are absolutely right. You can classify. I'm just classified. We have habit and we have not adopt. We have habit and we have not habit. You can also say that the members who have never visited bank, members who are rarely visited bank, and members who are frequently visiting banks. So that you can create three groups. There also, it is also qualitative in nature. Here also qualitative.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Actually, this is the logic. Only thing you have to understand. Our focus is on how self-help groups are self-help groups are helping in inculcating the banking habit, but my focus is on which test is useful in this kind of situation, right? Say even if we explain in this way also, it is chi-square test is relevant, right? Right, madam? Hello? Am I right, madam?
Chi-square. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Even in this context also, chi-square test is relevant. Yeah, fine. See, please remember, even if you learn this conventional, I mean, some of you may be very good in using all these statistical techniques, but I take the assumption that many of the people are not very good in. My focus is to make you relatively better with respect to this usage of this inferential statistical techniques. So therefore, I'm going by these cases, right? So this is the thing, and let me take last case. With that,
only 1 second, sir. So 1 second.
Yes,
so regarding case 3, actually.
Yeah.
Regarding case 3, if I were to actually get the data regarding the savings of the household.
Yeah.
Savings of the women.
Amount saved in a period of time, right?
Amount saved by the women. Suppose if I actually take for banking parameter.
Right.
For the banking habit, if I am able to get data with regards to the savings done by women,
right?
In that context, one paired dependent t-test will be viable and not chi-square test, provided I have the absolute savings which can be expressed quantifiably, right, sir?
Yes, definitely. There you are comparing the average savings before they become member and the average savings after they become member. Okay.
Yes. Sir.
Right, Chetan? Average, if you take the same members and if you compare the average amount saved before their membership and average savings after they become members of the group, obviously you can go for dependent t-test there also. No doubt.
So the thing is, banking habit in itself is not quantitative or qualitative. It's how I define a banking habit. That is what matters.
That's the reason why I defined the way, see, my focus was on explaining you in context in which this chi-square is useful. Therefore, even I have explained about the way how we can use the term. Okay. For the way how I interpreted that concept of banking habit, and for that chi-square is relevant. For the context you are told, definitely dependent t-test can be managed.
Okay.
Right, Chetan?
Yeah, fine. So now clear. Clarifies. Yes, sir. Yes.
See, right. And you should understand how we have to use all these tests. Okay. Right. Yeah. With this, shall I proceed to fourth case?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right. Fourth case is like this. I'm sorry. Yeah. Is it fourth case? Yeah. Yeah. Is it visible now?
Yes, sir. It is visible, sir.
See, the fourth case is like this. Impact of integrated nutrient management, INM. Impact of INM on maize productivity is the study. It is a research study. And remember, most of the examples I have taken here, cases I have taken from I've taken these cases from either some research articles or from some unpublished PhD thesis. And this way, of course, I've taken very simplified things I've taken so that I want to practically explain you how you have to manage this thing. Okay. So the topic is impact of INM on maize productivity, an empirical study in some Chitradurga district. Of course, it is from some paper, and the objective is to analyze the impact of integrated nutrient management on maize productivity. Okay. Here, the research hypothesis is like this. See, farmers who have fully adopted integrated nutrient management have obtained significantly higher maize yield compared to the farmers who have partially adopted and not adopted INM. Actually, here you could, what is important, of course, I have simplified, and there is some dilution. Actually, I should not put it in this way, but still, in order to convey you the message, I have made it. here you could observe there are three groups. One is you could observe the one group we have not adopted integrated nutrient management. Those who have partially adopted nutrient management, integrated nutrient management. So I'm sorry, those who have not adopted INM, partially adopted INM, and fully adopted INM. So for all these three groups, our focus is on maize productivity or maize yield, maize crop yield in these three groups of farmers. Average maize yield in these three groups of farmers. That means, see the average maize yield among the farmers who have not adopted INM, average maize yield among the farmers who have partially adopted INM, and the average maize yield among the farmers who have fully adopted this INM. So this is the research hypothesis. For this, of course, actually mu1 is not equal to mu2, which is not equal to mu3. This is the right way of writing the hypothesis here. Mu1 is greater than mu2, which is greater than mu1, like that. So this is the research hypothesis here. The null hypothesis here, there is no significant difference in the maize yield obtained by the farmers who have adopted, partially adopted, non-adoption of this integrated nutrient management technology. This is the research context. Can anyone tell me which test is relevant here?
Sir, t-test cannot be used because it is only for two series. Anova, sir, f-test.
Exactly. See, here we have three groups, three values. Average value, average maize yield among the non-adapters, average maize yield among the partially adapters, average maize yield among the people who have fully adapted. So therefore, we have three groups here. Three groups in the sense, say, this t-test is obviously not relevant. I mean, we could not do, whenever there are three groups or more than three groups, we could not go for this this t-test. So obviously we have to go for this analysis of variance. I hope this is what I wanted to convey the message with all of you, because just simply some teachers tell you about this t-test, some teacher tell you about chi-square test, and some I am going to tell you about this Anova. See, you may get confused. See, you know what is under what but you need to understand about comprehension about under what circumstance you can use all these tests. So in this, with this backdrop, in fact, almost, I'm sorry, I've taken almost more than half an hour to analyze these cases. I hope you can comprehend and appreciate these cases. With this, let me come to my my core area, that is Anova and its applications in social science research. See, as I've already given the case, so Anova is generally used to test the hypothesis of equality between two variants, equality between two variants or even three variants also. Variance, you know, we have three, statistics. Sometimes you may take the statistics like average value or the variance value. See, is there any significant difference in the average value of a variable between three groups or more than three groups? Or difference in the variance, even sometimes variance, even for two groups also you can use Anova, but sometimes even in regression analysis, while testing the overall goodness of fit of a regression function, we are using this Anova. And variance, sometimes you might have seen. Actually, even while doing the t-test, you might have seen. Even in statistical software, t-test formula is written like t-test using equal variance, t-test using unequal variance, like that. Even while deciding about which test to be used, you have to understand the variance among two groups. So even in understanding that kind of difference in the variance, we are using this Anova also. So to know the differences or equality of the variance between two groups, and to know the difference or otherwise of the mean value between three or more than three groups, in that case, we are using the Anova. And in fact, Anova, this technique, this partitions the total variability data set into components of variability. Like, it compare between the group variance with the within the group variance. You will have the variance within the group, variance between the group. So this, through this process, even after short while, I'm going to tell you about the source of difference in the variance. Variance within the group, variance between the groups, variance within the sample, variance between the sample, like that we are going to use. In that context, we are using this Anova. I hope this, in fact, this Anova was, first of all, it was developed by Ronald A. Fisher. In fact, he was the British scientist and he developed it in 1923. This analysis of variance is essentially a procedure for testing the difference between the different groups of data for the homogeneity. Homogeneity in the sense, two groups, whether they are homogeneous or same with respect to variance or with respect to mean value of the variable which we have selected. To know all those things, we are using this statistical test, and the most important applications of this Anova are, it is used to test the significance of difference in the variance between the samples. So this is first thing, to test the significance of difference in the variance between the samples. And the second most important thing is, it is used to test the significance of difference in the mean values between 3 or more than 3 sample groups. This is another, in fact, in the social science, particularly, in fact, this Anova is not just useful in our social science. In fact, the subject in science disciplines are more frequently using this Anova. Everywhere it is being used. Whenever we are dealing with some quantitative variable, and if you have more than 3 or more than 3 groups, we can use, obviously, we can use it for many different reasons. And even not only that, I think somebody, Shankar Gowda, you want to ask some question. Can you ask? I mean, Shankar Gowda, what is your doubt? Unmute, Chetan. You can unmute the things. And
sir, actually, that sir has not joined via audio, sir.
That's what
I have given the participants permission to unmute themselves and speak, sir. Sir has not joined with audio, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Let us have discussion later on, and let me complete whatever I want to tell. And other applications, it includes, it is used to test the significance of regression function. Sometimes we may fit a regression function. So even to test the overall significance of the regression function, we are using this Anova. And it is also, in fact, the most important thing in economics, commerce, management, even in such other areas, quite often we are using the structural break. For example, let me give one simple example for that. See, we may have the production function. You may be having variable input on y axis and total production on the y axis. So for that, you may be having some production function curve. With the change in the technology, there may be some upward shift in the production function curve. So we used to call it as, see, there is upward shift in the production function. So that means to say there is a structural break in that the curve which shows the function, which shows the relationship between the input and output. So whether that functional, is there any, that upward shift, is it, whenever we are in need of understanding the presence or otherwise of the structural break in the production function, even in that case also we can use this analysis of variance. Okay, so these are the things, and we use this Anova. Whenever we are dealing with this Anova, we will have this one-way classification of Anova, two-way classification of Anova. That means to say, if you have only one variable to compare between the groups, for example, for example, see, crop yield, some crop, just now I used maize yield. Maize yield between three groups of farmers. In that case, we are just using one-way classification. It's enough. We are classifying the respondent. Our focus is on only one variable is there, maize yield. Maize yield between these 3 groups of farmers, whether maize yield is significantly different between these 3 groups of farmers or otherwise. In that case, we go for single factor Anova. And sometimes we may have, Sometimes you may have, may yield may yield among non-adopters, partially adopters, fully adopters. Even there may be some, again, sample groups, there may be different. In irrigated area and dryland area, again, there are two groups. There will be two groups. So irrigated and dryland, we are comparing not only across the different farmers based on fully not adopted, partially adopted, fully adopted, but also irrigated and dryland. So there we are trying to analyze the variance and mean value between classifications based on two variables. One is on adoption status and irrigation status. In that case also we could go for two-way ANOVA classification. Let me give one more example under what circumstance we are going for using this two-way ANOVA. Sometimes we want to compare the annual salary package of MBA graduates of different disciplines. Marketing, what is the average salary of the MBA graduates who have completed their MBA in marketing management stream, finance stream, and HRM stream? So three streams. We are trying to compare the average value between three groups: the MBAs with marketing, MBAs with finance, MBAs with HRM. So we are comparing that. So this is one way, and even not only it is not just stream important. Sometimes college may matters. X college, Y college, Z college, or M college, N college, O college, P college, like that. So if you want to compare average salary between simultaneously, if you want to compare the average salary between the streams of their specialization and across the different colleges, in that context, two-way classification is important, and simultaneously whether the stream has its influence on the average salary package and whether the college is having its influence on the salary package. We can simultaneously work out this, use this ANOVA. You can use the ANOVA, and simultaneously we could draw inference about the influence of simultaneously the influence of this stream of specialization and the colleges on the average salary packages. These are the circumstances under which this analysis of variance can be used. So with this, I think this is some basic things which you can find out in a simple statistics books. In case of one-way classification, we will have ANOVA like this. ANOVA in the sense we will have in one-way classification between the samples, within the sample. I told variance between the samples, variance within the samples. We will have this probably anybody who is having the basic information about this ANOVA, probably you may come across this table. SSC, sum of squares. Sum of squares between the columns. I think if you take the samples in the columns, sum of squares between the columns, and this SSC, sum of squares within samples. So that means to say row, sum of squares within the samples, rows, and SSTs, total sum of squares of variation, total sum of squares of the variations, and the degrees of freedom is given. C means column, number of columns means number of samples minus 1, and within the sample, N means sample size, N minus C means number of groups, like that, N1. These are the degrees of freedom. Based on, by using that degrees of freedom, you can calculate mean sum of squares between columns. Like this, it is a format, simple format. So this is the formula we are using, and with these simple things, let me go for some simple calculation applications and its interpretation of the things. Both for, I'm going to use the cases, some examples, both for this one-way classification and for two-way classifications. First, let me take up this thing. See, let us take in a study. The study we go study like this. Basically the study is intended, of course, I've explained already. I've taken this case in the beginning only. A researcher wants to analyze the impact of integrated nutrient management technology on the maize productivity. Some, of course, I've given it in case number 4, which I've written in case number 4. And it is the objective of this study is to analyze the impact of integrated nutrient management on the maize productivity. It is the objective of the study. I already told you this. And here the alternative hypothesis or research hypothesis is farmers who have not fully adopted this INM, integrated nutrient management, they have obtained significantly higher maize yield compared to the farmers who have partially adopted and the farmers who have not adopted this integrated nutrient management technology. This is the alternative hypothesis. And null hypothesis goes like this. There is no significant difference in the maize yield between maize yield obtained by the farmers who have adopted, partially adopted, non-adopted this integrated nutrient management technology. So for this, we may calculate some, I already told you that. Even I used to tell, what is this operational definitions of this non-adopters of this INM, partial adopters of INM, fully adopters of this INM. See, non-adopters of INM are those who are not using any components of this INM, integrated nutrient management technology. And the partial adopters are those who are using any or few INM components. And the other thing is, fully adopters are those who are using all the components of this INM. So these are the things. And of course, I've explained about the components, one component or few components that, I've explicitly mentioned what are the components of this INM. It is not very much important here. So actually, based on this data, I told this is the master table which is being used here. Used here in the sense, we have 3 groups, maize yield. I mean, you could see here, column E, column F, column G. Here we have taken, in column E, we have taken the data for the people who are in NA category. NA category means non-adopters category. And PA means partially adopters category. FA means fully adopters category. We have 3 groups of farmers. You can clearly visible. In column E, column F, column G, I have taken 3 groups of farmers. First group is NA, non-adopters group. In second group, that is in F column, you have PA, partially adopters group of farmers. And in G, you have fully adopters group of farmers. See here, for NA group, I have taken there are different sample farmers. Like, these are all farmers, different farmers who have recorded or we have obtained the maize yield like this. We have this data, and for this given data, go to data. In Excel you can go to data. This you can analyze. You can select data analysis tool pack. You will get the dialog box like this, and you will get Anova. Select this Anova single factor. It is single factor. We don't have double factor here. Here in this research context, our focus is just on comparing the maize yield between these 3 groups of farmers. So we have to take what is this single factor ANOVA, and so by giving that selecting the data, if you give OK, you will get the result list like this. This is the results on ANOVA. Actually, get the results like this. Here you can find the summary. Column 1, column 2, column 3. Column 1 is non-adopters group. Column 2 is partial adopters group. Column 3 is fully adopters group. Here count means how many observations are there. In non-adopters, there are 17 farmers. In partial adopters, there are 20 farmers. In fully adopters, there are 13 farmers. You have taken the sum of the value of this total yield obtained, average, variance, all these things are taken. And for that, this Anova has been calculated, analysis of variance has been calculated, and degrees of freedom given, MS, mean sum of squares are given. Based on this, it is easy to calculate the F value. calculated F value is 13.811. Add the critical value. Our table value is 3.1951. It is the this critical value or table value. And so this is the way how we can calculate. I mean, calculating is not a thing, not a big deal here. So there are 3 columns as I already told. Select the ANOVA, give OK, and choose the data. Select the data range, and then give select the ANOVA, then give OK. You will get the result like this. Here, as already told, here new one, not new one. That is the degrees of freedom for new one, and new 2 degrees of freedom for 47. Here it is given. DF means degrees of freedom. Say for one column between groups, I mean to say between adapters, these 3 adapters group, F value is greater than the critical value, that is 3.195. So therefore, here in this context, we are rejecting the null hypothesis. Actually, in the very beginning, I have written the null hypothesis. I have written the null hypothesis here, since the calculated value here we have calculated 13.811. I think it is visible here. 13.811 is calculated value. If you consult the table for this new one of 2 and new 2 47, that is 2 and 47 degrees of freedom. The table value at 5% level of significance was 3.1951. So therefore, since calculated value is greater than the table value, we are rejecting the null hypothesis. We are rejecting the null hypothesis means that means the difference in the average yield of maize between 3 groups of farmers is statistically significant. See, that is the difference in the average yield of maize between 3 groups of farmers is statistically significant. So this is what the inference is, and this is the way how we can in fact I hope the things are clear. Circumstance under which we can use this ANOVA, first thing, and how we have to use how we should have the data set. I mean to say, from your schedule, how you have to feed your data to Excel, and also I explained about how to calculate this chi-square that ANOVA with one factor. We have calculated F value is 13.811, critical value is 3.1951. So for this degrees of freedom, the table value is actually given, that was given, and this table value is 3.195. So calculated F value is greater than the critical value. Therefore, H0 is rejected, and hence the difference in the average yield of maize
sir, actually, you lost your network, sir. We are extremely sorry. Sir is having some technical issues. In 2 minutes, within 2 minutes, sir will be joining back, and the session will be resumed. 2 minutes, we shall resume the session. Inconvenience deeply regretted.
Chetan?
Hello. Yes, sir.
What about
sir? Yes, sir. Sir, actually, sir's laptop has been like switched off because of low battery. Sir would be joining in 2 minutes, sir.
Okay. Please carry on.
Fine, sir.
Okay.
Sorry, there was some technical issue. Let me continue from the point where I stopped. Yeah. Yes, exactly. I was here. I was explaining about the findings of this test. You know, for that given case, since the calculated F value is greater than the critical value, I mean, here it is given calculated value is 13.811. Critical value for 5 degrees of freedom is just 3.1951. So therefore, we are rejecting the null hypothesis. So we are rejecting null hypothesis. We could draw the conclusion that there is a difference in the average yield of maize between the 3 groups of farmers is statistically significant. So there is, you could observe the average yield of average yield of maize in the non-adapters group was just 17 quintals. Yeah, average yield was, I'm sorry, yeah, it was non-adapters, partially adapters, fully adapters. There was 17 quintals, 20 quintals, 13 quintals. It was the average value. Sorry, I'm sorry, 18 quintals. I'm sorry, average value is 18 quintals among non-adapters. Partially adapters, it is 20.2 quintals. And fully adapters group, it was 24.769 quintals. So this difference is statistically significant. So that we could draw the conclusion that this integrated nutrient management technology has some real significant thing, a thing which could have its influence on the crop yield. So this is about that. And with this, so let us go for a two-way Anova, a two-way classification. So two-way classification, as I already mentioned, we will have two kind of, we will classify, I mean, we will compare the average value or variance value based on two variables. One will be taken on the column and another will be taken on the rows. I mean, I've given some examples also. So let me take a case here. I think this you can, here you could observe. I've taken one case for this thing. One case is just the objective of a study is to ascertain the factors influencing the salary packages offered to MBA graduates. So the objective is to ascertain the factors influencing the salary packages offered to MBA graduates. See here, there are two variables which could influence on the average salary packages.
Sir, sorry, sir. Actually, we are not able to see the slides, sir.
Namely, see, institution where they study, whether the institution matters. I mean,
sir, one second, sir. Actually, we are not able to see the slides.
Different across the institution where they are studied. And the second thing is specialization stream of graduates. Specialization stream of the graduates is another variable which could influence. So these are the two variables. You can observe. Say here in this kind of situation, we can formulate or we can write the hypothesis like this. I have written mu1 is equal to mu2, which is equal to mu3.
Excuse me, sir.
Of course, here there is some
excuse me, sir.
Grammatical error.
Sir, we can't see the screen.
Not equal to. Yeah, that is where mu1 is the average salary package of MBA graduates. Of course, I've taken alternate.
So actually, the slides are not moving.
Oh, is it? Yeah. Stop share and.
Yes.
Chetan, is it visible now?
Yes, sir. Now it is visible.
Null hypothesis is there is no difference in the salary package offered in the different institution. For example, mu1 that means average salary package to MBA graduates of institution 1 is equal to average salary package offered to MBA graduates in institution 2, and which is equal to average salary package in institution 3, like this. Whereas alternative hypothesis are written, mu1 is not equal to mu2, which is not equal to mu3. This is alternative hypothesis or research hypothesis. Actually, this I wanted to focus, and this null hypothesis I wanted to show it in little small font, but there is some little error. Just clarify it. And this is one thing. This is based on institution-wise salary difference. And here I have taken this is variable 1. Variable 1 is institution. Variable 2 is stream of learning. Again, I have written mu m is equal to mu f is equal to mu h. Here I have written M means marketing, F means finance, H means HRM. Average salary package for the MBA graduates who obtain their graduation in marketing is equal to average salary package of the MBA graduates who obtain their MBA graduation from the finance stream, which is equal to average salary package offered to MBA graduates who have obtained their MBA graduation from HRM stream. So this is the thing. And now this is null hypothesis. For this research hypothesis is mu m is not equal to mu f, which is not equal to mu h. That means average salary package offered to the MBA graduates across different stream of learning is significantly different. This is what the alternative hypothesis here. So this is the alternative hypothesis. So in this case, actually, for this, if we calculate, for we have if we calculate the analysis of variance table for this thing, let us assume that we will get the result like this. The given result is like this. See, marketing stream, the results pertaining to rows. That means marketing, finance, and HRM. In marketing, we have 3 samples. Average salary package is, let us say, it is 9 lakh. 9 lakh in marketing case. And in finance, we have average salary package obtained by the the MBA graduates is 8.66 lakhs. And in case HRM, it is 7 like this. And here in the last 3 columns here, we have taken A institution, B institution, 3 institution. In A institution also we have 3 MBA graduates. B institution 3 graduates. Like this, their average salary package is 8.6 lakh, 10.6 lakhs, and institution it is 6 lakhs like this. So here for this the calculated F value, there are 2 F values here. One is for specialization, that is for rows related F value, and another one F value is for the variable which is given on the columns, the institutions. In the rows we have taken specialization, that is marketing, finance, and HRM. In the columns, let us assume that we have taken the institutions, that is A institution, B institution, C institution, like this. So for row related things, the calculated F value is 0.684, and for the another variable which is given in the column, it is institution 7.789. So these are the things, and here I have consolidated the results here. See, result is H0, it is related to rows, that is specialization, could not be rejected. It is because calculated F value is 0.684, the table value is 6.944. So since calculated values is less than the critical value, we could not reject the null hypothesis. So therefore, we could say that there is no significant difference in the salary package between the MBAs, salary packages between the MBAs of different stream, and whether it is marketing or finance or HRM. This is just for example. I am not focusing more on HRM. That is not. It is not based on the real research. It is some. It is the data which is created to enable you to understand this concept. I have not done. This is not based on any research analysis. It is just to enlighten you about how to interpret the result. And the another thing, H0 is related to column, that is institution. As far as this F value for institution is concerned, the H0 related to column has to be rejected, because here you could observe calculated F value is 7.789, whereas critical value is 6.944. So therefore, since calculated F value is greater than the critical value, we can reject the null hypothesis here. So therefore, we have rejected null hypothesis. Null hypothesis state it is salary is equal between institution A, institution B, institution C like. But alternative hypothesis was not equal to. That means there is significant difference in the salary package between the different institutions. Here you could observe average salary package in institution A was 8.66 lakh, and in B institution it was 10.66 lakh. So and in C institution it was 6 lakhs. So in fact, this 10.6 lakhs, the graduates who obtained the MBAs who have studied in the institution B, their average salary package is 10.6 lakh, which is definitely more than the average salary package of graduates who have studied in institution A, where the average salary package is 8.6 lakh, and again the average salary package of 6 lakh among the students who have studied in C institution is definitely lesser than the average salary package of the students, I mean the graduates who have studied in other institutions. So therefore, institution matters. I mean, not that the stream which you have studied is not important. I mean, so here in this context, the institutions play an important role in influencing the average salary package. So this is the thing. This is based on two-way Anova classification. Two-way Anova classification. Here we have classified on two things. One is on stream of graduation. I mean marketing, finance also. Another one is on the institution, X institution, A institution, B institution, or the C institution. So this is how we can draw the conclusions. So in this way we can draw the conclusions. So this is about that. And in fact, even in Anova, we have two things. One is with replication and without replication. With replication, of course, in social science, if you take the with replication, we could have the interaction effect, which normally, of course, interaction effect and other things. Two-way Anova with replication will be more predominant in science courses. Particularly, it is more widely used in agronomy, soil science, even in other the disciplines of science also. Of course, very rarely we may have that kind of things. So this is about that. Of course, now it is almost in another some 3 minutes are here. Of course, let us have discussion for a few minutes. I mean, for some times. If you of course still I have some other slides, even slides in the sense of particularly let me take another 1 or 2 minutes. Even of course with replication also I've taken some things, but I think after my session, I think for two reasons I'm not going to explain this with replication, mainly because in social science I rarely find the research circumstance where we can use this two-way classification Anova with replications. And another thing is, of course, and I don't have time to explain it now because of the technical problem. There was wastage of some 5 to 10 minutes. And in fact, the another area where we are most widely we are using this Anova analysis of variance is regression analysis. Let me very quickly explain this thing. We have some data on y variable and x variable. For this, even with all this calculation process, y, I have taken regression. I have calculated regression function. Yeah, as all of you know, y is equal to. I have taken a simple linear regression equation here. Y is equal to a plus bx. See, I have used some shortcut method here. Y bar is sum of x by n, is 13.8. X bar is 3. And as all of you know, we can estimate this b value by taking sum of small x into small y over sum of x square, which is equal to 1.3, and estimated value of a is equal to y bar minus b into x. Like this, I have calculated this. So estimated regression function is estimated value of y is equal to 9.9 plus 1.3 into x. This is how we used to calculate this regression function. And here also written. So error sum of square, total sum of square, residual sum of square. By taking all these things, I have calculated t value for the coefficient B, calculated t value for regression function B is 2.33, and for A intercept, that is 5.19. Actually, this is how we can calculate this B value and A value, even by using the same the same test. Even we can calculate this kind of things. So with this, we calculate overall significance of regression function. By calculating it, we estimate this F value here. F value is for this regression function. F value is for this regression function, which is the calculated value is 5.121. So it means to that. So this regression function estimated here, that is this regression function, is not just by chance. It is because of this overall regression function is statistically significant. So in this context, to draw this kind of conclusions, also we are using this Anova. This is Anova. I mean, this is actually, whenever you generate any regression function by using any software, you can generate it either by using Excel. Actually, in fact, this result is generated by MS Excel. There you can find a regression, residual like this, degrees of freedom, sum of squares, mean sum of squares, F value. So this is nothing but Anova table. It is. This Anova table is also used to indicate the regression, overall regression function. So in this context also, we are using this Anova. These are some of the things just to explain you about this Anova. With this, I think if you have any questions, please feel free to ask the questions now. I think Chetan, unmute all and let anybody wish to ask questions, let them rise.
Yes, sir. All the participants are unmuted, and if you have any queries or questions, you can raise the same to the professor.
Chetan, I think your audio is muted.
My audio?
Unmute your audio, Chetan, and inform that. Say all
Sir,
scholars.
actually, mine is,
yeah, please.
sir, mine is audible, sir. Am I not audible, sir?
Chetan, you are not audible.
But we can hear Chetan sir's voice, sir.
Well, actually, other people are able to hear me.
I don't know why, what happened. Very peculiar case. My lecture was audible, no, earlier?
Your lecture was audible, sir.
Let me raise my voice here. Hello? Am I audible to all of you?
Yes, sir, audible.
Oh, but.
Are you able to hear the participants?
No, I am not audible.
Please log out and log in.
From the entire Zoom?
Yes, sir. Just leave the meeting and again join.
Fine.
But the thing is, your entire presentation was audible for the participants. You are not able to hear the participants.
Right, right. Leave.
Sir is going to be joining us in another 2 minutes. Sir is having some technical difficulties. On behalf of Department of Studies and Economics, inconvenience deeply regretted.
Yeah,
sir, am I audible now?
Chetan?
You are audible, sir. Am I audible, sir?
But for me, you are not audible. I'm joining with some other device.
Okay,
Right
sir.
now I'm joining with some other device. Just wait for 1 minute. Yeah. Hello. Chetan. Chetan, am I audible?
Yes, sir. You are audible, sir.
Yeah. Please, others can, the participant can raise your questions now.
Yeah, participants, if you have any queries, you can raise to the professor. You have been granted the permission of unmuting yourself and speaking. Any of the participants, if you have any queries, you can raise the same to the professor. You can unmute and speak. Anyway, I have some questions, sir.
Okay, Chetan.
Sir, actually, you said like between variation and within variation, I mean, between group and within group. So can you just explain that again, sir? Like between group and within group in case of Anova?
I'm sorry, I lost connectivity. Hello, can you repeat the questions, Chetan?
Yes, sir. Sir, actually in Anova, you spoke about between groups and within groups.
Okay.
Can you just explain like what is this between groups and within groups in Anova?
Yeah, between group, for example, in one way, Anova, I told you about that we have classified the farmers into non-adapters, adapters, partially adapters, and adapters. Okay, fully adapters. Variance between the group means we take the variance in group A, not adapters, and variance with respect to partially adapters, variance with respect to fully adapters. So this is the variance between the groups. Variance within the sample means, for example, we have one group, like for example, the non-adapters group. What is the variance in the yield within the group of farmers? Within the group of farmers, we have not adopted the watershed technology. Okay, so that is called variance within the group. Like that, we used to take variance within the group A, variance within the group B, and variance within the group C. Like that, we measure the variance within the sample groups and variance between different groups. Between means non-adapters, partially adapters, fully adapters. Within group means, say, within any individual group, what is the variance? So that is the real meaning of variance within the group and variance between the groups.
Yeah, fine, sir. So another question I wanted to ask is, actually you gave an example, like between, you actually had this Anova, two-way Anova between institutions as well as the streams.
Right.
Now, actually, institutions was treated as a quantitative variable. Like in that institution, how much salaries these people are getting. It was basically treated as a quantitative variable. And even in the streams was also treated as a quantitative variable. Means if I am in MBA, how much salary I'm getting.
Right.
So thing is, both the streams and institutions were interpreted in such a manner that both were actually treated as quantitative variables.
Chetan,
So here,
right.
So here, what I'm actually saying is, in Anova, is it we are going to use only quantitative, or there's a provision of clubbing quantitative with qualitative, and is there also a provision for just going for just quantitative series?
Yeah, good question, Chetan. You could observe here.
Yes, sir.
See, we are grouping data. Actually, you might have here the core objective is salary package, average salary package. You could observe. Okay.
average salary package is the quantitative variable. For example, how much X is drawing salary, how much Y is taking salary, like that. Salary is the variable here. This salary across the different institution. Institution is indicator to institution is an identity to classify the groups into the graduates from X college, graduates from Y college, and graduate from Z college. Here the college is not quantitative. It is an identity to classify, group the respondents into the different affiliation to the different colleges, right? That's one thing. And a stream is also like, marketing stream, HR stream, finance stream. See, we are classifying the respondent into these the different groups. That's it. Like a institution graduate from X college, Y college, Z college, and graduate from management stream, marketing stream, finance stream, and like that. It is just we are using this to group the data. That's it. But here the core variable is salary. Core variable is obviously it is a quantitative variable. And please remember here, particularly while measuring the variance and also while measuring the homogeneity or otherwise difference in the average value, we are using only quantitative variables, not the quality. Quality in the sense, you don't take the institution as quality, don't take the stream as quality. It is just an identity to classify the respondent into different groups. That's it. Here the core variable is quantitative in nature, right? Could you got my point?
Okay, sir. I got your point, sir. One last supplementary question.
Right.
So here, actually, when we are actually dealing with t-test, we are dealing only with quantitative variables.
Right.
And maximum, we are going to treat only two groups.
Right.
Okay, that is the t-test. And chi-square, obviously, again, it is only two group. We are going to see the degree of association between two variables and two qualitative variables, only qualitative there.
Yeah.
In chi-square. Now, when I'm speaking about ANOVA, I can have ANOVA minimum, there must be three and above.
Yeah, 3 and above groups.
3 and above groups. And here, this is what I require clarification, sir. All the 3 groups, whenever I'm taking the 3 groups, all the 3 groups should be only quantitative in nature, is it?
A variable should be quantitative. This should not be qualitative.
Only quantitative. I cannot bring in qualitative here at all.
Right.
Okay, sir. So only quantitative variables I'm bringing in for the treatment here.
Right. Okay.
Fine, sir. That is the clarification I needed. So that's it, sir.
Thank you. I think others don't have questions, or I don't know how many are actively listening to me. At least I will be happy, and we are taking so much of pain in organizing all these programs. At least we will be happy if the participants are more interactive. Right? Right, Chetan, thank you. I think we could wind up the session. It is already 11:42. I think next you have to go for another session, right?
Yes, sir. Okay,
you have to go for another session. Just wind up the session. Let me leave the session right now. Huh?
Fine, sir.
Okay.
On behalf of Department of Studies in Economics as well as ICSSR, we wholeheartedly thank Professor Rangappa, sir, for sparing his valuable time despite his heavy and hectic schedule to share his wisdom in a very systematic, proficient, relevant, and practical manner. We wholeheartedly thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And with sir's permission, we are winding up the session. And the next session will be starting in another 5-10 minutes, another 10 minutes. So we request the participants to join us again. In another 10 minutes, the session is going to resume. Thank you, Ananda.
Sir, sir, good morning, sir. Rajendran, sir, good morning.
Sir, Rajendran, sir, good morning, sir. Namaste.
Sir, I
request sir to unmute.
Sir, actually, sir, has sir logged in with sir's name, sir? Connecting to audio.
ஆறுல வந்துருக்கணும்ல. அவங்க வச்சிருக்காங்களா இது? நம்ம இதை வந்து எப்படி ஸ்கிரீன்ல இது பிரசன்ட் பண்றதா பாருங்க. அதுக்கு ஏற்பாடு பண்ணும் ஸ்கிரீன் காமிங்க. மேல டெஸ்க்டாப்ல இருக்குல்ல சைன் எல்லாம் இப்போ கேக்குது. இப்போ கேக்குது சைன் லீவ் மீட்டிங் கேக்குது. சதீஷ் சைன் என்ன எப்போ கேக்குது? பொறுமையா பண்ணுங்க. லான்ச் மீட்டிங் வருது. நம்ம அதுதான் டைப் பண்ணணுமா? இதெல்லாம் டைப் பண்ண கூடாது. சரி இது பண்ணுங்க. அந்த பிரசன்டேஷனுக்கு வந்து அப்புறம் திரும்ப ஜாயின் மீட்டிங் வருதுன்னு கேட்கிறேன். ஆனது குழுமா இது ஃபர்ஸ்ட் இதுவும் சார்ஜ் ஆகிட்டு இருக்கு. இது அதுல இது பண்றதுக்கா இன்னும் கொஞ்சம் இருக்கணும் இல்ல பட் முன்னாடி இருக்கு. திருப்பி பண்ணணும். அதுக்கு போகுமா? அதை காமிச்சு பசங்க உட்காந்து பார்த்தா யாராவது ரிசல்ட் காமிக்கிறாங்க. பேப்பர் வச்சுங்க.
Good afternoon, Rajendran sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir. Sir, actually, I'm a research scholar here, sir, and you can. We have actually made you what do you call co-host, sir, and you can share your screen, sir.
Google or
like if you have any PowerPoint presentation or something, you can share the screen, sir.
That's what we are trying now.
Okay, sir. Like you are in the Zoom meeting, right, sir?
Yeah.
And are you accessing? Yes, sir. It's coming actually.
Is it visible now?
It is going to be visible in another 5-10 seconds, sir. But it has started, sir. Yeah.
Okay. You are speaking from Davargana University.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, now the screen is visible, sir. It is visible,
okay.
Sir.
Okay, very good. So
yes,
we'll be starting in another 5 minutes.
Whenever, like, if you want us to start now, we can start now itself, sir.
Yeah, I'm ready. Yeah, we can go ahead.
Okay, sir. So I'll just give a brief introduction about yourself, sir, and we can start the session in another 2-3 minutes.
Yes, yeah.
Yes, sir.
How many participants are there?
As of now, 57 are there, sir.
Oh, very good, very good. How long you have been with the university?
How long means like I'll be there for another one year, sir.
Okay. What is the topic of interest?
So actually, my specialization is I want to specialize in both time series and cross-sectional data, sir. And my thesis is related to human capital formation. But nonetheless, I have published some 3-4 papers on time series as well, sir.
Very good, very good, very good.
Sir, good morning, sir.
Namaste, namaste, Dr. Gaudre.
Sir.
Is it visible?
Yes, sir, it is visible, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's visible, sir. It's visible, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The screen also visible, sir. Sir, we can start.
Yeah, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Okay, sir. Okay. Chetan?
Yes, sir. We'll start now, sir. We'll start.
Yeah, please.
So, a very good afternoon for all the faculties and scholars who have joined us in the afternoon session. That is the second session of the day. And even in the second session, we have a very much revered and honored, experienced and a wise resource person. That is Professor Dr. S. Rajendran, sir. Sir is actually, he has a research experience of over 34 years and teaching experience of over 24 years. And sir's specialization is actually in development studies. And sir is currently guiding one MPhil student, and under sir's guidance, already 24 students are awarded MPhil. And sir is as of now guiding 3 PhD students, and under sir's guidance, 14 PhD scholars have already been awarded their doctorates. Sir has published 2 books. Sir has written chapters in 36 books. And sir has edited over 30 papers in edited volumes or proceedings. And sir has made more than 103 publications in national and international journals. And the prominent being publications in Economic and Political Weekly, Agriculture Situation in India, Artha Vignana, and the like. And sir has also handled major projects, the major projects of financial worth being one of 12.73 lakhs and another of 9.23 lakhs. Actually, 3 major projects worth 12 lakhs. 12.73 lakhs sir has actually handled. And with regards to the details of project, one project was actually regarding economic and employment generation of organic and conventional farming system in Tamil Nadu, which was funded by University Grants Commission for a duration of 3 years. And the total amount disbursed for the said project was 4.23 lakhs. And another important project sir has worked on is availability and accessibility of educational service in a backward region in Salem district, which was actually funded by State Planning Commission, and whose duration was of 11 months and for which 5.5 lakhs was actually sponsored. So here we, in amidst of us, we have a academician who is actually in nitty-gritty of policy formulation as well as influencing the policy formulation. So thing is, we are very much honored to have you, sir. And apart from that, sir has also been given additional responsibilities, such as sir is actually member of Vice Chancellor Search Committee of Alagappa University. Sir is also a member of Vice Chancellor Convener Committee of Periyar University. Sir is actually Director of Pride Initiative. And sir is Syndicate Member of Periyar University. Sir is Chairman of Board of Examination University of Mysore. And sir is Director of Curriculum Development, Periyar University. Sir is Senate Member of Periyar University. Sir is Head HOD Department of Economics in Periyar University, as well as Sir had served as HOD in. Sir is actually serving HOD as in Department of Economics, the Gandhigram Rural Institute. So Sir has a vast range of administrative experience, and Sir has also worked in major research projects which are actually funded by central organizations of government as well as state government. And so we are very much honored, and it is going to be a pleasure for us, Sir, sharing his wisdom despite his heavy schedule, despite his hectic schedule. Department of Studies in Economics, as well as ICSSR sponsored faculty development program, wholeheartedly welcome you, sir, to share your wisdom with us, sir. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much for your elaborate introduction of my academic accomplishments. At the outset, let me thank the ICSSR and also the authorities in Davangere University, more specifically the Department of Studies in Economics of the Davangere University. My student, though directly he was not my student, Dr. Gowda, who has been there in Davangere University for more than 5 years. I remember the warm hospitality they extended during the previous program in 2019, if I correctly remember. I was there for a day, and then we enjoyed the warmth, hospitality, and also the pleasant weather condition in Davangere. Now, my job is to deliver 2 lectures. One is on the domain of how do we prepare research proposals for seeking fund support from various organizations. The other one is the preparation of research report and extraction of a scientific research paper from the report. Now, this is what my responsibility, and first I will take up the title on proposal writing for fundraising, and then I will move on to the extraction of research paper. Now, friends, most of us are coming from universities, colleges, and research institutes, and one way or the other, we are all exposed to research in addition to our regular teaching and also some amount of extension activities. And from my understanding, since I come from national level research institute like ISAC, Center for Science and Environment, we have the passion for taking up research in a very systematic manner, not only for professional development, but also for other reasons as well. So mainly, most of us think that it is exclusively for developing our career and also the professional development. That is not the case. There are some people who are interested in taking up research for hobby. I remember very well some of the respondents in Mysore University when I was interviewing, they reported in this line. So research essentially doesn't mean that it is exclusively for career development or passion or hobby or money spinning enterprise. It encompasses everything of that. Therefore, one need not be glamorous about the research exclusively meant for career building. Now, I take up this task of proposal writing for fundraising primarily in the present juncture, the present phase. Most of the funding agencies are squeezing UGC, ICSSR, AICTE, Ministry of Science and Technology, Ministry of Human Resource Development, and all other key ministries are squeezing for various reasons. I don't want to get into that because the original discussion will be disseminated, diffused. Therefore, let me confine the discussion only on proposal writing for fundraising. Since most of the funding agencies are squeezing and most of the international funding agencies are finding it difficult to sponsor Indian researchers, exclusively for the simple reason that now India is tagged as fast growing economy in the world. Therefore, most of us are not eligible to get the funding support from overseas organizations like IDRC, etc. Against this backdrop, there is a stiff competition in getting funding support from sponsors, and hence our proposal should be tuned in such a way that it is meeting the international standard and also meeting the stiff competition from the fellow researchers. Now, for clear understanding of my presentation, I have divided my presentation in 7 sections. Why we have to go in for a research? The second aspect is how we would be going about. And the third component is where we can seek funding. And then the core research format, how the format should be for impressing the sponsors. And when we can think of preparing research proposals. I remember when I was entering into research after ISEC, I was told that you please keep 3 or 4 proposals beforehand, so that at least you can submit it one from the required organization. That is a comment given by senior professors. And what are the essential areas we can think of, the contemporary thrust areas? And I sum up after discussing that point. Now, let me take you to understand why we are interested in taking up a research and how it comes to our mind. Now, most of us are familiar with the concept of pandemic and then lockdown. Pandemic, lockdown, and then impact on rural development, economy, employment, migration, and financial institutions. N number of issues are coming to our mind. How does it come? How they come? It comes from discussions. It comes from the interaction in the seminars and other academic discourses, and also reading literature from dissertation, thesis, conference proceedings, seminar proceedings, and also news reports. So essentially, in a nutshell, the idea of taking research comes from these sources, from projects, already the project reports prepared, conference proceedings, seminar proceedings, workshop resource papers, research papers, dissertations, theses, and also the news reports, both the print as well as electronic media. From these sources, we get some clue to take up research. And in general, there is a general feeling among the academicians, academic fraternity, that there has been consistent and steady declining in the quality of research, particularly in social science and the humanities. That is a strong comment made by many researchers and also the planners. And of late, I think at least for about 7 or 8 years from now, I have been observing in Tamil Nadu, particularly in the university system, most of the vice chancellor candidates are picked up from a science discipline. When we dig out the reason for that, they simply say that they have more upper hand as compared to the candidates from social science and humanities background. Therefore, there is a general feeling that the quality of research in India has been on the decline. And there are good researchers who stand at the international arena to display their ability. But the general feeling is that the quality is declining. And why we take up research? It comes in the domain of academic exercise, hobby, emotional sometimes, and of course, the livelihood means. Emotional, I remember in 2 of the incidents, both father and son, mother and daughter, they got their PhD degrees from the reputed institute, reputed universities. So, not only for academic purpose, not only for just for hobby, and also the livelihood means, they also take up research on emotional basis. And more of all that, we need to have team spirit and also the understanding of taking up the research projects with inter and interdepartmental and also institutional collaboration. Friends, please remember, gone are the days when the funding agencies are concentrating the individual proposals. Nowadays, they expect the team should comprise from many departments, many personalities from the same department, and also from different institutions. And more importantly, the institutions of different kind. Suppose if the University of Mysore's economics department is taking up, it can collaborate with the Central Institute of Food Technological Research Institute or University of Agricultural Sciences. So these kind of teams work they are expecting to fund more liberally so that the purpose of the project is solved. And also the research is being taken for getting academic promotion from different cadres under CAS and also recognition. And if you're concentrating on a specific theme for quite a number of years or days or months, and your name is recognized. If you discuss about the regional economy, naturally Professor Nanjundappa's name comes to our mind. If you talk about wage food theory, V.R. Brahmananda's name coming. If you talk about V.K.R. Rao, the national income accounting comes to our mind. Therefore, to establish individual's name in a specific period, specific item, specific aspect, specific thrust area, the recognition is much more important. And also, the research output yields and the research output takes you to get reward and also award in addition to fellowships and the prize for your outstanding contribution on a seminal work that you are bringing out from your research projects. And also, in addition to these, other incentives like cash prize and also citations in your academic publications, you get H index, citation index, etc. Status. The research output from the research projects emerge as publications and which lead to citations, which also popularize your name. And here I would like to make a mention. I think our research scholar introduced very emotionally that I published papers in Economic and Political Weekly. I would consider the publication in vernacular languages from popular newspapers, magazines will carry more dissemination to the general public as also the stakeholders rather than standard papers, standard publications. That is my personal feeling. Therefore, the individual publications that comes out from your research projects leads you to establish a specific status in the area of your research. This is the point why we take up research in the interest area. And how do we go about preparing the research proposal, research note? There must be a kind of structured format, which we call it as scientific format. And more importantly, the format should fulfill the requirement of the funding agency's interest. And again, the research report should address, at least either indirectly or directly or in both ways, the ideological fringe factors of the funding agencies. In other words, their interest. For example, there is an agency called the Wellcome Trust located in UK. They talk about the indigenous medicine, traditional medicine, etc. And suppose if you are sending the proposal to such organization, you need not discuss about the money supply, you need not discuss about the industrial economics, but certainly you should talk about the medicinal plants, extraction, intellectual property rights, tribal rights, and then biological diversity authorities, etc. So essentially, your proposal should focus the thrust areas of the funding agency that you have to keep in your mind while you are preparing the proposal. And then the societal requirement, the economic importance, the political aspect, by keeping the contemporary issues in view. All these three areas should reflect in your proposal. And also, whatever the terms of references, what we call TORS, should have been framed by the host institution as well as the implementing organization should match very nicely, and this should reflect in your research proposal. And also your project output, the report, the theoretical output, the empirical output, the contemporary output, either in the form of report or publication, it should be useful to the larger society, the policy makers, and also the academic fraternity for taking up new and higher studies in the domain of your interest. So in a broader sense, your research project proposal should contain all these in the in a very convincing manner to the funding agency. And also the budget. Sometimes they stipulate you can prepare the funding by keeping 10 lakh rupees or 15 lakh rupees in your mind. And there are some project teams which also submit proposals for 40 crore rupees. I remember when I was in the University of Mysore during 90s. I remember we got an opportunity to work with the IRI and also University of Agricultural Sciences, Tamil Nadu Agricultural University, ISEC, and University of Mysore. We submitted a proposal for about 50 crore rupees. But unfortunately, due to technical reasons, we couldn't get that. We were not awarded the project. And it went to IRI. They established a separate body, national body, and it was given to them. Therefore, the budget amount should be kept in mind by keeping all your workable other headings, like the honorarium to the principal investigators, the data collection charges, consultancy fees, etc. So all the budget headings under justifiable heads should be explained in a very meaningful manner, very convincing manner, and also in a very reasonable, acceptable, and viable viable manner. Your heading should be justified. And also, you have to make a provision for overhead charges. Some institutes do not charge in the name of overhead charges, but most of the institutions, universities and colleges, they claim, they seek overhead charges, and it varies between 7% to 15%, a maximum of 15%. And these overhead charges can be utilized by the principal investigator for developing the fringe infrastructure facilities in his department or in his institution. That is the purpose the overhead charges is given. And honorarium to principal investigators, you may wonder, some of the principal investigators may not be interested to take up honorarium, but some in funding agencies provide provision for honorarium to principal investigators. And also consultancy fees. For example, if the economic analysis is taken both for time series and cross-sectional data analysis, sometimes the researcher may not be well versed with the models, econometric tools and the models. In that case, he can consult the experts outside the institution for which the consultancy fees provision is there. So you can claim by proportion, like something like 5% or 10% less, etc. And very importantly, very important factor, very important point is that you have to fulfill all institutional formalities. Nowadays, most of the managing institution, the operating institution, finding it difficult to get into the conflict with the auditing authorities. They have many audit objections, especially from the state universities. For various reasons. There are some genuine reasons, some illogical reasons, and sometimes without knowing both, they also raise objections. Therefore, before submitting the proposal, every aspect of financial management should be made very clear, and you have to discuss with the finance section, particularly with the finance officer, to have clarity on various aspects of financial management, and also the administrative section. Now, friends, last week the UGC has instructed all higher educational institutions, including research institutes, universities, and also the colleges, to initiate research and development wing separately to deal with the processing and also onward transmission of research proposals submitted by different faculty members from various departments and centers. Therefore, Now, whatever we prepare at the department level should be routed through the research and development wing. And also, earlier the individual colleges should route their proposals through the university curriculum development cell. Now that formality also has been simplified. And if the university is not responding to less than only one month or so, the funding agency can consider it as approved. Therefore, the procedure has been simplified. So utilizing that opportunity, seizing that opportunity, individual researcher can submit the research proposal without any hassles at higher educational institutional level. Another dimension of the meeting research proposal, the local agency, or local institution, and how they can be taken forward. Not like district, etc. level. You can take up the projects from, you can submit your research proposal to ICDP, either joint projects with the institutions of your nature or from the state department as such. And there are hello.
Hello, sir.
Yes, sir. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. You are audible, sir. But the PPT is not visible, sir.
Okay, now we are trying. Now?
Yeah, fine.
Okay.
Sir, please share your screen, sir. Your PPT is not visible, sir.
Now, is it okay?
No, sir. It is not, sir.
Okay, okay. We are trying to restore it.
Yes, sir.
Share. It is up more. Now, is it okay, sir?
Sir, unfortunately, no, sir.
I think it shows here you are screen sharing. It shows here.
Sir, what you do is you just stop the screen share, sir, and again restart it, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
New share rule. Video audio வருது but screen மட்டும் பிரச்சனை. It says your screen sharing. Close பண்ணிட்டு
So now I think you will be able to share the screen now, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir, you are audible, sir.
Is it viewable now, the PPT?
PPT, no, sir, actually.
I don't know, where is the problem? It clearly shows that you are screen sharing.
It is showing like that, sir.
It also shows live, but I don't know what is the problem.
Just a second, sir.
Or can I do one thing? Can I send it to your mail and can you display from there? Is it possible?
Yes, sir. Yeah, it can be done, sir.
I just send it.
Yes.
அவங்க மெயிலுக்கு அனுப்புங்க பாப்போம். நம்ம இமெயில் இருக்குல்ல, இதுல தான் இது வந்து உனக்கு அட்டாச் பண்ணுங்க 2 இமெயில். அந்த இது அட்டாச் பண்ணணும்ல.
Sir,
yes. அட்டாச் 2 இமெயில் அனுப்பி connection was there.
Sir, I think now it is working, sir.
Acha.
Yes, sir. Another 5-10 seconds. I think it will. Anyway, it has started, sir. The process is started.
Okay. Let us see.
Yes, sir.
Now we are in the second point. How we know? Is it the one?
Sir, it's actually not visible. I think it will get going in another 5-10 seconds, sir.
Okay. Animations, slides all no. இதுல நம்ம இது பண்ணிவிட முடியாது. இல்லை இது மெயில் இருந்தால் தான் இருக்க முடியும். இது இது அந்த மெயில இருந்து அட்டாச் பண்ணிடணும். நாட் கனெக்ட்னு வருது. நாட் கனெக்ட்னு வருது.
This one. So actually
அதுக்கு கீழே
yeah, now it is visible, sir.
Okay, fine. Thank you. அது கொஞ்சம் போட்டுருங்க. எவ்வளவு போடணும்? Thank you very much. And I'm extremely sorry. This is the technical snag, which is beyond our help actually. Now, at a regional level, we can think of preparing ICDP, District Rural Development Agency, etc. And also at a state level, there are Agriculture Department, Education Department, and also the Electricity Department you can think of applying. And at national level, we have separate agency like CAPAT, which is focusing mainly on rural development, in which the Gandhigram Rural Institute is the main beneficiary. NABARD, Agriculture Refinance Corporation, Science and Technology, Concurrent Development Board, National Cooperative Union of India, etc. I have intentionally avoided ICSSR, NBA, and also UGC, etc., because you are all familiar with that. And for that specific reason, I have avoided that. And the Concurrent Development Board, which is managed by the Union Government, the office is located in Cochin, provides not only for empirical research, but also for conducting workshops, training programs, and also the consultancy service. Therefore, the researchers who are interested in delivering consultancy can opt to this source. Similarly, the National Cooperative Union of India extends financial support for training the local cooperators, including the consumer cooperative societies which are located in the educational institutions. You can think of that. And at international level, we have popular agencies like ILO, FAO, International Rice Research Institute, ICRISAT located in Hyderabad, IFRI in Washington, World Bank, etc. So these are the popular international agencies where you can think of sending your research proposal. Friends, in addition to these agencies and also organizations, at the program level, we have number of programs that can be evaluated by getting research funding. These programs essentially do have various dimensions like evaluation research, also training, and also conduction of workshop at local level, like National Livelihood Mission, Jal Jeevan Mission, Technology Mission on Oil Seeds and Pulses, Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act, etc. These are the contemporary programs which are going on and managed by the Union government. Supports not only for evaluation projects, but also for conducting training programs and organizing workshop at regional level you can think of. And at NGOs and at NGO level, we have Center for Science and Environment, Center for Environmental Education, the international NGOs like HIVAS, Oxfam, ActionAid. These three organizations. These three organizations fund a huge amount at the international level. And as a researcher from ISEC, we have got 5 crore rupees from HIVAS during late 90s to take up a study on the impact of new economic policy on rural poor in South Indian states. It was a mega project. I was working as a research officer in that project. So you can think of sending research proposals not only to local NGOs, but also international NGOs. In addition to these government and also the civil society organizations, we have corporate bodies, both at national as well as international level, like Ratan Tata Welcome Trust. And in addition to these, we have independent agencies like ORG, MARG, etc. They do support the research proposals. And in addition to these, private parties also interested in understanding the research domains, particularly the political parties, for their choice of election in regional level as well as national levels, and also the business groups. And traditionally, we the social scientists are little lethargic and also indifferent towards getting research projects. We always talk about cumbersome and also the administrative hurdles, etc. And now the phase has been changing, and most of the social science researchers and the humanities researchers, they are coming forward to prepare such proposals and administer projects funded by various organizations, starting from regional, national, and also international level. And the format, this is the most crucial segment of this presentation, how the format can be. Is it a technical format that we usually prepare for submitting research proposal leading to PhD or MPhil or postdoctoral, etc.? Yes, by and large it is similar, but it has got its own specific emphasis on the topic that you are going to address. And essentially, the title should be very specific. And in case if you need, you can give subtitle, but formal. But formally, it should be avoided. It can be concise and also reflecting the major scope of the investigation beforehand. And as I mentioned in the beginning, friends, please remember, you can have a couple of research project proposals always beforehand, so that you can modify suitably according to the availability of funding chances from the funding agencies at the regional or national or international level. So the broader skeleton of the research format can be kept always ready, and only here and there you can make changes and submit it if the funding agencies are seeking research proposal. And the aim of the project and the broad aim of the research project, emphasizing the overall thrust of the proposed investigation, should be clearly mentioned. It should not be haphazard manner, and we should see that the aim of the project is reflecting directly on the title of your research proposal. Statement of the problem, and sometimes we miss to give the statement of the problem, but most of the funding agencies expect the investigator, the principal investigator, or the implementing institution to give the statement of the problem. The problem investigated should be clearly conceptualized by interlinking the theoretical framework with the empirical domain of a specific aspect. For example, drinking water supply or sustainable agriculture development. You have to give the proper perspective of the interlinking theoretical as well as analytical framework on the specific theme or thrust area. And normally, any social science research should emerge from the vast comprehensive literature survey. So you have to do the SPAD work starting from collecting literature, either from individual studies or from the institutional studies at preferably international standing. Like suppose if you are doing research on agriculture, it should reflect the FAO's mandate. It should reflect the mandate of IFRI, International Food Policy Research Institute. So you should keep in your mind that the literature review should bring out various critical issues that confront the specific theme from the research output of that domain. Therefore, the literature should delineate the need for present investigation from the existing literature, existing arguments in a very logical and also clear manner. The next important aspect is conceptual framework. How your research can be taken forward by connecting various conceptual framework of the proposed research and the relevance, the applicability, the society benefit accrued from the research, etc., wherein you can highlight the models, etc. And the research questions or hypotheses that need to be addressed have to be clearly outlined in the research questions section, preferably after the literature part. And more importantly, the research proposal should contain a scientific methodological framework, because in social science research, methodological design, we call it as a spinal cord of research. Therefore, the research methodology forms an important segment in the proposal, which do have coverage, data collection, data analysis, and analytical framework, etc. Here, what do we mean by coverage? Here, in this aspect, what I mean coverage is where the universe is, whether it is international study, local study, or semi-regional study, or continent-based, etc. And some studies may form cutting across different continents, like Asia, Africa study, or North America and South America study, something like. So it should clearly explain the universe of the study, the sampling frame, the sampling methods, the sampling techniques, and also the sampling size, units, etc. in the methodological design very clearly. But friends, remember, this is a proposed one, and there is a possibility for revising it either based on the suggestion made by the funding agency or from your colleagues who have very well versed in the proposed research is concerned. Therefore, you can give the proposal, but it is subject to the modification based on the suggestions given by the funding agency first and your peers second. And then the data collection, the proposal should explain what kind of data you are going to use. Is it time series data or cross-sectional data or both? I think the present context in the contemporary world, most of the social science and the humanities research expect that the data should come from both the sources, time series as well as cross-sectional data, so that the data set can be collated by understanding where the secondary data is moving ahead, and also the tools and techniques used for collecting data from the proposed exploration. The data analysis forms yet another crucial form in the research methodology section. It should clearly spell out what kind of statistical techniques you are going to use through the operational system like ICSSR, SPSS, or Arch model, etc., depending upon the requirement and need of the data and analysis, for which you need to have clear discussion with the consultant or the peer who has expertise in the field of research. So these are the important points which come in the section on research methodology. And then you also should outline the need for implications, the likely output of your study, where does it lead to? For example, some studies would form a wonderful segment, wonderful resource to frame a new policy on the proposed research. And sometimes a specific segment of studies would lead to explore still further or extend your research to other segment. Therefore, is there any scope for further exploration? Or some studies may be innovative in the aspect of methodological framework. For example, a group of researchers may be taking up research on specific aspect. For example, rural employment or urban employment. Both the set of researchers may be doing research on the same theme, but the methodological dimension will be different. Therefore, in social science research, the methodological innovation forms an important aspect, which will lead to newer direction, newer aspect, newer discoveries in the analytical framework. Therefore, methodological innovation is yet another important implication of your research. And also theory building and contemporary relevance. Suppose if you ask any social science researchers to address now, they will immediately venture into the pandemic, the impact of GST, the impact of demonetization, etc. And also the newer area in the banking is increasing or worrying non-performing assets. Therefore, the implications should have contemporary relevance, and hence this area also should have some emphasis in your proposal. And also your expected output should give scope for inculcating creative thinking in the research mind. But you should have clear understanding how the theory as well as empirical analytical framework can be interrelated on a specific aspect. For example, the food security is discussed in the context of availability and accessibility. And that is what the Nobel laureate Amartya Sen argued as deprivation. It may be available in the godowns, but it cannot be accessible due to various reasons, which lead to discuss about deprivation. Therefore, the research output should lead to critical thinking among the young minds in social science research. And the reference section should have complete reference, which include journals, books, monographs, and also the government reports, both at the global level as well as local level, and the edited volumes, which include the proceedings, etc. Duration of the project, if friends remember what we call as timeline. Nowadays, gone are the days where the project extended up to 5 years, sometimes 10 years, etc. Say no. And some researchers retired as research assistants and research officers. Nowadays, the funding agencies prefer to have fast track research output. Therefore, nowadays, if you see, the funding agencies expect the investigators to submit the research output within, say, something like 1 year to 2 years, not more than 3 years. It depends upon the scope, coverage, and also the sample size, etc. Therefore, most of the cases at present, the proposal is expected to be conducted in a very short duration. And also the size of the sample, the amount of tasks that you are going to put, the preparation of schedules and questionnaires, and also the checklist, conduction of pilot study, actual data collection, data analysis, report writing, revision, etc. Everything should be clearly outlined in the section and timeline with the clear marking of duration. That is much more important because the funding agency is very keen to look into this issue in a very serious form. Now, already I have outlined the budget component. Now, let me give a little more extended information. The budget should be nominal and also logical and acceptable to the funding agencies. Normally, the broad headings in the budget for social science research could be research personnel, including honorarium to principal investigators, travel. Normally, the major heading will be under this for social science research, unlike natural science research, because we go to field, we conduct intensive studies and extensive studies for collecting data and conducting the primary investigation. Therefore, you have to give the justification for duration of the data collection and also the zonal coverage, etc. Data processing, consultancy, and friends, you have to keep in your mind while preparing the research proposal whether the funding agency gives some amount of importance for all these headings. Some agency may not provide a provision for consultancy. Some agency may not provide a facility for equipments. Some agencies may not allow you to conduct workshops and training programs. But broadly, you have to keep in your mind, these are the dozen aspects, dozen heads, which do come under the budget section. Personnel, travel, data processing, data mining and data processing, consultancy services, stationery and printing of documents, including schedules, questionnaires, etc. Books and journals, which include reports, etc. Equipments, consultancy and communication services, conduction of workshops and training programs. Some of the funding agencies expect the research output may be discussed with the local officials, including non-governmental organizations, so that a clear picture will emerge on the report. That is why they encourage to conduct workshops and training, so that this can be considered for funding. And above all, the overhead charges and if there are any other items should be clearly spelled out in the budget section. So friends, while you are preparing research proposal, the budget forms an important segment, and see that you clearly read the instructions given by the funding agencies. Accordingly, you modify suitably to the needs of the funding agency and make the budget provision. And now the summary of the format in the research proposal should contain the following headings, following aspects, like how many copies are required. I think I'm an old generation researcher, therefore I put a number of copies, etc. Nowadays, the funding agencies seek just online submission. They don't expect you to take the print and submit. However, you submit a soft copy as well as hard copy, that would be much attractive and also convincing to the funding agency. And also you have to indicate the statements of the problems and also the objectives that emerge from the literature review. Research questions and hypotheses are both, as we have discussed already. The sample frame and the size, which do come under coverage in the methodological framework. And also the tools, techniques, the method of investigation be provided. Everything will come under summary, despite the fact that we have discussed at length in the research methodological section. When can we submit the proposal? I have been telling at least thrice so far, I have told the audience, please remember, you keep a skeleton in 3 or 5 aspects, 3 or 4 or 5 aspects, so that we can just fill the gaps and submit it. And some of the funding agencies advertise very rarely, and some agencies seek the proposal annually, and some of the agencies do solicit half yearly, and some agencies throughout the year. Therefore, as and when the funding agencies do advertise, you can fill the gaps and then submit it. And some of the medium, they reach you sometimes after the last date. Yesterday, I was browsing the Economic and Political Weekly Journal, and March 5th was the last day. Only yesterday I received the copy. Therefore, you please remember, you keep the skeleton ready so that you can do the spared work here and there. Make it pakka by discussing with the experts in and around your department and your institution, and then you can submit it. Please remember, the proposal should reach the funding agency before the last date or the deadline. And you have to be prepared, you have to get ready for oral or informal discussion with the funding agency in case if they feel like, because they may ask you to revise the budget, revise the timeline, and they may ask some clarifications like if there are some sensitive issues, etc. Therefore, you have to be prepared to go over there and explain and justify your case of preservation. And the concurrent projects also may be handled by individual researcher, but on different issues, not on the same issue. Adult work schedule is very important. And sometimes the funding agencies need to remind the principal investigator, yes, sir, you have to complete the project and submit it. The due date is fast approaching. You should not give room for that. You have to strictly go ahead with the timeline which you propose in the proposal. You have to strictly adhere to it. And also, you please remember, when you are conducting the field work, you should avoid extreme weather conditions because it will create health disorders, health distress to the.
Sir, please unmute yourself, sir. Hello, sir. Please unmute yourself, sir.
Yeah, I have done it now.
Yeah, now audible, sir.
Okay. And what are the contemporary thematic issues that we can think of sending the proposals? Now, as you understand, being a student of economics, we can think of the impact of globalization and also the different perspectives in the growth aspect, the sustainability issue that has been discussed at length, not only at regional level, not only at global level, but also at local level. Even at the village level, that is the emerging and the burning issue that can be think of by relating with the natural resource use dimension. And other contemporary issues like demonetization, agrarian distress, GST, and also the pandemic lockdown. The agrarian distress is getting much attention. I think as long as the agriculture sector is surviving, this area needs to be pondered, probed again and again, not only from the perspective of dryland regions like the Karnataka or Andhra Pradesh, but also agriculturally prosperous regions like food baskets of India, like Punjab, Haryana, and Western EP. Therefore, these are a few issues that can be kept in mind while preparing the research proposal. Also, the financial management, like increasing concern about non-performing assets, etc. And friends, remember, your proposal should not deviate from the funding agency's mandates. This point we have to keep in our mind always. And then your proposal should not go much beyond, and sometimes due to our over interest, over enthusiasm, we go to extend our scope, like sample size, coverage, etc. And you please keep in your mind what are the infrastructure facilities, including physical, manpower, administrative support you have in you. And most of the times when we discuss about this concept with the college teachers, research institute researchers, and also university teachers, every segment have their own complaints, their own inferences, their own difficulties. And the college teachers, they say that we have cumbersome administrative support. And the research institutes staff say that we have shortage of manpower. Therefore, whatever the infrastructure facilities available in the campus, the implementing, the managing institution, you should see that your proposal targets by keeping the infrastructure facilities in your organization. And you have to prepare your proposal in the prescribed format and the size given by the funding agency. If it says that you have to finish entire discussion within 10,000 words, please restrict to it. You need not give 15,000 words, etc. And how are the areas that can be kept in mind? And most of the times, you see the research that you are proposing should lead to policy formulation. I have already emphasized this. And also, both sources of data sets need to be used so that how the secondary data is directing you to show on a specific theme. Therefore, both set of data should be utilized for a comprehensive analysis. And also, your approach should be scientific and also objective, unlike subjectivity is erupted. And also the scientific methodology and language vetting is essential before sending the proposal so that the proposal is taken at one go. Thorough discussion with your own colleagues, your own peers, your own experts in and around your organization over the draft, that will give you scope for fine-tuning the research proposal in a more polished manner. So based on the comments, suggestions, and then opinions given by the experts and also your peers, please revise them. There is no harm in it. Present before the local expert team before like research and team or deans, etc. And for useful and constructive comments before uploading or sending the proposal to the funding agencies. Now I have come to the last leg of my presentation. I would like to wind with this slide. Now, research is not a constraint. It is available in plenty, not only at regional level, not only at national level, not only at but also at international level. Resource is not only a constraint at all, but only thing is you have to prepare scientific, logical, and workable proposal so that it can be taken up immediately. The funding agencies are soliciting quality and quantitative research work across different boards. And the only thing is the investigators should apply their mind to capitalize this choice and go ahead. And more significantly, importantly, you would adhere to the time schedule, timeline. Unless otherwise you stick on to that, it will be a very sorry state of affairs. What I mean to say here is, if it is to be completed within, say, 6 months, you should see that without giving any room for reminding from the funding agency, you are completing the entire process. And less formalities and more flexibilities should be the approach by the managing organization, whether it is university or college or research institute. They should have less formality, formalities and more flexibilities. They should not put always queries, etc., and blocking the research progress. And your research proposal should be acceptable, adaptable, accessible, and also feasible. This is applicable to even your research output. And a mutual trust and consensus during the project phase between and among interdepartmental personnel, interinstitutional personnel, and also within your team. So mutual trust is very important, and the consensus and the torch bearing is very essential for successfully completing your research. Self-introspection always during the course of the project is very, very essential. The principal investigator should not deviate from the mandate of the project proposal, and he should always take the entire team into confidence by self-introspecting on the core dimension of the research project. And friends, you can enjoy by maximum publications from the research output and also get and also derive academic satisfaction from the publications that come out from the project report or project work. And I wish all of you to have a very strong feeling, strong sense of aspirations to prepare as many research proposals, keep them ready, and whenever the funding agencies or the funding organizations are seeking or advertising, you can submit and get maximum satisfaction. Thank you one and all for patiently listening. I'm so very sorry that there was some interruption in between. That is because of the technical snag. Thank you very much. Now, if there are some discussions, I think the organizers may permit us to interact. Am I right?
Yeah, yes, sir. Thank you very much. Sir. So if any of the participants have any queries, you can unmute yourself and raise your queries to Professor, and Professor will actually, Professor has initiated the discussion. So if any of the faculties have any queries or something, you can unmute yourself and raise your queries to the Professor. So, I mean, again, anyway, sir, actually, like I basically had some questions here, sir.
Yes, yeah, please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Sir, actually, I mean, basically, even I had worked in some private institutions, and in private institutions, people, I don't know, people, I mean, at least I, as well as my colleagues, we were not aware of these funding and all. So my first question is this funding can be leveraged only by government faculties working in government institutions, or is there actually a provision for even the private educational institutions to access this funding, sir?
This can be accessed by both. Not only by both, even the NGOs are taking up research. Not only NGOs, even individual researchers, they form a kind of agglomeration by showing the CV from eminent personalities in the respective field, and they take up projects and they utilize the experts' service as consultants. Therefore, not necessarily the public sector organizations are given chance, but also private and also individuals. They can take up. I remember we were competing when I was with the Periyar University Salem. We were competing to take up a study on urban activities. For my surprise, though I quoted less budget, it was given to one national level NGO, which is headed in Madurai district of Tamil Nadu, and it was given to them. So later I came to know that they have much expertise in the team than us in the Department of Economics in Salem University, Periyar University. Therefore, they kind of preferred that. So it is not necessary that they are going to consider. They consider public sector organizations. They do consider private as well as NGOs and also individuals. This is what our experience is.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir. So another question is,
please.
Basically, I mean, I have been doing some research on human capital formation, and some of my research findings actually show that there is a perceivable industry academia gap, which is actually there in the system that we have created. And there is not only industry academia gap, but what we actually see is there is actually a perceivable gap which actually exists even between the policy-making bodies as well as policy-making bodies as well as the educational institutions. I mean, basically, like what I wanted to ask is, like, yes, I mean, we are doing the research work, but the thing is, I mean, it may not come as a surprise for you, and even to a certain extent, even you would also agree that the research work which is actually being done by Indian institutes are not, I mean, Indian educational institutes more often than not doesn't actually meet the prerequisite standards which the policymakers do expect. And even when we come to empirical tools that we are actually using, even that is also not on par with the best that America or some other things have. So what I'm actually asking is, how relevant, I mean, even if we actually raise funds for research projects and all, what I wanted to ask is what are the chances of they actually getting implemented in policy formulation? What is the odds ratio of our research input getting incorporated in policy formulations? Like, how much can we expect? And if the odds ratio is very low, what are the structural measures which a university can actually take in order to increase and enhance the chances of our research inputs getting into the policy framework as such?
Yeah, very, very interesting and also relevant questions you raised. I think three questions are there. Most of the times the research outputs are kept in the library itself. It is not disseminated. And the second point is the quality concern, which I also raised. The third one is the lack of academia and industry collaboration. All 3 points are absolutely correct. I remember whenever we browse the international agencies like MIT or Cambridge University or Stanford University, you find it is not like just a Department of Economics like Gandhigram University. It is Department of Economics, some name chair will be there. So that person would have sponsored for taking up research on a specific theme like agriculture or environment or human resource management, natural resource management, etc. So the research output will come in that directorate, that center. But that is completely lacking in India. The second point is, it is true, absolutely correct. Whatever we do conduct research, either natural science or even social science research, most of the times the research outputs are kept in the library, almirahs. That's all. It is not reaching the policymakers. Either the policymakers are very serious about looking into them, or the academicians who are taking up research in a large scale are interested in disseminating to the policymakers. There is a complete vacuum is there, complete gap is there. So what the present administration is thinking, I remember we had a discussion with the ICSSR chairman in charge last week in our campus in Gandhigram. He said how the ICSSR is looking for research proposals and what are the thematic areas we are thinking and how they can be useful to the society and also the industry. That is what he very clearly explained. So it has to start from both the sides, from the bottom level as well as from top level, like funding agencies or policy making bodies like UGC, ICSSR, AICTE, etc., and also at the local level, institutes, universities, and colleges. So the bridge need to be narrowed down. So the projects which they are going to fund right now, from the recent past onwards, it is expected that it directly helps, it directly serves the purpose of the society's requirements. So they have gone to that extent now. So you can think of taking something like indigenous technology, which can be directly related to sustainable resource management. And the sustainable resource management can be directly related to community development. So these are the aspects from the domain of social science and humanities, the funding agency like ICSR is looking for. So now I think this aspect is taken care. The quality aspect, third point which you mentioned, yes, it is a very serious concern. And sometimes even plagiarism is a very serious issue. And notable scientists, including CNR Rao from ICSSR, have been dragged, and one of the vice chancellors from North India was kicked out from the vice chancellorship from the university. So the quality, the inferior quality is a very serious concern. We have checks and balances, and as long as the checks and balances are there, still the quality deterioration is noticed. I think unless until the academic fraternity is concerned about maintaining the quality, it is very difficult. That is why I said that if we go to have self-introspection, are we moving in the right direction, and are we giving in the society-oriented, contemporary, relevant output to the betterment of the country, betterment of the society aspect by maintaining the quality. So these are the observations I would like to make on the points that you raised. Thank you.
So only one last supplementary question, sir. What is the parameter on which the quality of our project or success of our research initiative will be judged, sir? Like what will be the parameter in which the success of our research project will be judged by the institutions as of now, sir, in the current setup?
Yes, yeah.
Like how do we know that we have done a good work?
Yeah, that is a very tricky question and also a very complicated question. For example, I have mentioned quite often the sustainable development. The methodology for estimating the sustainable development itself is in infant stage. Though the sustainable development, the sustainable agriculture development, the sustainable resource management has come into being during 1986 itself. Now, despite the fact that we have crossed almost 40 years, there is no scientific methodology to estimate. These are the the sustainable development indicators which can maintain the sustainable resource management. Therefore, there are critical areas that need to be very carefully dealt with in the methodological dimension before taking up the analytical framework in the social science research. And very importantly, you can find out the difference on the same theme in two settings, either in the controlled or uncontrolled, either like pre or post, either with or without, or in two different regions as well. On the same thing, on the same theme, on the same aspect, the research findings would vary, the inferences would vary, also the research findings would vary on the same theme. So therefore, it is very tricky and also complicated question to answer the measuring quality parameter of a social science research. But the only thing is, your research should lead to some impact on the society's betterment, society's welfare.
So only one last question, sir. So here, you actually told that when we are doing this research and all, we can either go with controlled setup and uncontrolled setup. Like basically, when we see the world, only uncertainty is the most certain thing. So the thing is, how relevant is this controlled? Even Abhijit Sen also, I mean, Nobel laureate Abhijit Sen also did like in a controlled setup, like some experiments were actually done. And what I'm actually asking is how relevant, I mean, given that in the dynamics of the world, everything is so uncertain and all that, does doing experiments, particularly in social sciences, that too with a controlled setup, do you think it is, I mean, I just want your opinion, sir. This is actually relevant or formulation?
Yes, I think there is a saying, something is better than nothing. So social science is a very dynamic subject. It gets changed. That's why we said on the same theme, within neighbors also the dynamism you can find. The variation in the research findings, the inferences, and also the impact you can find drastically. So it is very difficult to capture that. But given that constraint, we got to do something. Therefore, either by using the controlled and open method, or with and without, or pre and post, some kind of mechanism we got to have in the methodological design, and they capture the inferences at the grassroots level, either by what you call taking up large sample or intensive analytical thinking, you can capture the facts and figures.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir.
Yeah.
If any of the other participants wants to raise any queries to the professor, the participants can do so. They can just unmute themselves and do it.
I think now it is lunch time, and I think they are all preparing for lunch, I think.
Yes, sir, maybe. So again, we shall thank you very much, sir. Despite your hectic schedule, you gave a wonderful systematic presentation of how to raise funds from the reputed organizations, reputed central and state organizations. And I'm very much certain that people will definitely take advantage of it. We shall come back. We shall actually come back. We shall take a break, sir, for lunch. And we humbly request you to, again, share your wisdom at 2:30. We shall be, with your permission, we shall be taking a break for lunch, and we shall resume the session at 2:30, sir.
Okay, I'll be before the screen by 2:30, right?
Yes, sir. At 2:30, if you come, it's fine, sir. 2:30, 2:25, it's fine, sir.
Okay, fine. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thanks.
Thank you all.
Again, we would like to inform the participants that the session shall resume at 2:25, 2:30. So we request all the participants to reassemble to the session by 2:30. And we wholeheartedly thank Professor on behalf of Department of Studies in Economics, Research Scholars Forum, as well as the audience and the participants to have shared Sir's wisdom in a systematic manner. Thank you one and all. We shall be resuming our session by 2:30 p.m. Thanks.
Thank you. Namaste. Bye.